7:32, back on the Sports Fix. On this Friday morning, you're listening to ESPN Radio and ESPNGo1.com. I'm Adam Reardon inside the studios, joined by our special guest host, Scott Brantley. We're going to try to make this a regular occurrence. I know the guy's busy. He's doing
You're
stuff.
Just lonely, man. You got Doran up there in Gainesville.
Doring's up there in Gainesville, and then today he's got the day off. I think he's chaperoning like a field trip. Hopefully it's not an outdoor field trip because that would stink, especially if he's in Ocala because it is raining.
First day of hurricane season. It's only appropriate that it rains. I guarantee you. I can't guarantee because I wouldn't know, but on June 1st when the hurricane season starts, how many times has it been raining in the last 5 years? I'd say this is the first.
But, I mean, you get one or the other. Now, we'll get either rain today or in years past, it's probably like 112 degrees with 50%, and 85% humidity. Speaking of first day of hurricane season, we're going to talk a little hurricane football with our good friend Danny Money of CanesInSight.com. He's a writer, he's an owner, he's a podcast host, does a little bit of everything over there with the folks at CanesInSight.com. Danny, good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing quite well, man. Let's talk a little bit about what's going down there, at Miami. The news here this week that guys like Billy Sanders and C.J. Holton no longer on the football team. I know we'll talk about the sanctions coming up in a little bit, but is this sort of a bit of a preemptive strike against the sanctions, sort of foreseeing scholarship limitations, so you're kind of trimming the fat a little bit early, depending on when the NCAA comes down with their word?
I don't think so. This is something normal for Al Golden and his staff. They were known for this in Temple, just sort of cutting out the weeds and getting the kids that they want in. Holton and Sanders, not bad kids, no real discipline problems, but they weren't going to be contributors on the team, not even on special teams. Holton had graduated, and it's just really trimming the fat and trying to get some more of their guys. And these are Shannon holdovers, and this, again, something that Al Golden and his staff have been doing since Temple.
Now, how about the NCAA sanctions? When we were just discussing this inside the studio before the segment came up, you almost sort of feel like it's like being at a McDonald's drive-through. Sometimes the NCAA will have your food ready when you pull up to the window. Other times they ask you to pull through, and it seems like they forget about you. What seems to be the timeline, if there's any, on when Miami will get some information on what it actually has coming to them?
Well, that's up in the air right now. The two lead NCAA investigators on this case have actually left the NCAA. So that's going to delay things a little bit. The current staff has yet to be interviewed. People that are there now have yet to be interviewed. So the timetable, really, we don't know. If I were to guess, I would say sometime maybe after the season and before signing day, so like January or late in the season. But that's unclear right now.
That really kind of leaves them screwed, doesn't it? I mean, because now you have to recruit an entire season, one, not knowing what the NCAA is going to hit you with, and two, having kids, every time you're in their living room, say to you, hey, what's the NCAA going to hit you with? Because other coaches are telling me you're going to get the death penalty. And really, I mean, you can say we're not going to get the death penalty, but you really don't know what the NCAA is coming with. I mean, for this to kind of drag out as long as it has, it's really been something that obviously could hurt Al Golden as far as recruiting is concerned, definitely.
And particularly this year, this class is going to be a small class regardless of the sanctions, probably about 16 to 19 kids. So you're balancing whether you want to fill up your scholarships and also cover your bases and make sure that you have people ready in case some of these high-profile recruits drop out once the sanctions come down. So, how do you recruit a kid and kind of put them on layaway and say, if the sanctions come down, are you still with us? And if so, will you jump in for so-and-so if he drops out? It's a very delicate balancing process, and it's not as easy if they had a bunch of scholarships to give and they can kind of cast a wide net and make sure they had backup plans in place.
You just need 16 Duke Johnsons, I think.
Exactly. Hey, Danny, I wanted to know, you've been around that campus, and that's not a big campus. A lot of people up these parts hadn't been to Miami's campus. Beautiful, really nice, compact, very well done. That's why I say you're probably better off going to school there, getting out, than you would at a big place like University of Florida because of the dynamics of the school, but also the attention you get in lesser classrooms as far as numbers are concerned. Al Golden coming in there. How's the theme around campus? How are they keeping their morale boosted up, and how are things going in this off season?
Morale is high. I mean, these are college kids. The sanctions, as important as they are, aren't at the forefront of their minds.
Right.
They're worried about playing football, having fun, and they're really not thinking about the sanctions. Obviously, they're not happy to be 6-6 last year, but a lot of these kids are going to get an opportunity to play. A lot of jobs opened up from last year, so they're focused on trying to seize that spot. Also, the freshmen that are here already for Summer A have brought in a good energy. Guys like Duke Johnson, who I had mentioned, Tracy Howard, these are not only the 5-star recruits, but they're pure football guys that really like the game, study the game, and bring that kind of attitude in addition to their talent. Anthony Chickalo is probably the best player from last year's class, along with Denzel Perryman, also football guy, always around the coach's office. So you're seeing that kind of attitude simmer down from the best players at the top to the rest of the team. And from what I can gather, morale's as high as it's been, notwithstanding the sanctions in the 6-6 season.
Danny Money of CanesInSight.com, our guest here on the Sports Fix. Danny, let me ask you about a story that's sort of garnering a lot of attention nationwide here, especially this morning as I was driving in listening to Mike and Mike. They're talking about P. Diddy's son, who I guess got a scholarship to UCLA, and people questioning whether or not his dad should just pay the money instead of having the kid be on scholarship and open the scholarship for somebody else. Well, I know that Miami has a commitment from Ray Lewis III, which is obviously Ray Lewis's son. Does that discussion happen very often around there? Why doesn't Ray Lewis just pay for his kid to go to Miami? Obviously, Ray Lewis has enough money to do so. And kind of what's the vibe? Maybe not obviously around the coaches, but the fan base. Do fans necessarily believe, hey, Ray's got enough money, he should pay for his own kid to go to school? Or, hey, the kid earns a scholarship, the kid gets a scholarship?
Well, that discussion does happen, especially with a kid like Ray Lewis Jr., who's not the most highly touted player, although he's been very productive. And again, this is being a small class. Some people have questioned, do we want to use a scholarship on a guy that might not be the biggest recruit? But at the same time, you can't ask Ray Lewis to pay a scholarship for a kid that's able to get a Division I scholarship elsewhere. It's insulting. It's a matter of pride that's getting that UM scholarship. Ray Lewis said he almost cried the day that scholarship was extended. So again, you can't ask someone with that kind of pride to walk on when he is a Division I caliber player. And also, you don't know what kind of bloodlines these guys have and how it might manifest themselves. To give you an example, in 2002, Miami signed the number one receiver recruiting class in the entire nation. A lot of 5-star kids, Ryan Moore up in Orlando, Akeem Jola out of New Orleans. None of those guys amounted to anything. But yet we took a 2-star from Miami Carroll City named Sonoris Moss, whose brother Santana Moss was a star at the University of Miami and an NFL Pro Bowler. And he ended up being the best receiver out of all the guys we signed. So you don't know how these kids are going to end up. I mean, Scott knows how far bloodlines can go and how much talent can run in the family. So we'll see. But Ray Lewis looks like Ray Lewis the second. He looks like a talented player, and he's got a chance as a safety here.
Yeah, and I hope he gets that opportunity. And like you said, Danny, the pride about that, about earning that scholarship offer. Whether you sign it or not, you're still getting that offer from the alma mater that your daddy, built. I mean, he's one of the. I look at one of the ground people. When you think of the top 5 people that have built Miami to what they are, Ray Lewis is definitely amongst that crowd. So, yeah, very proud of that. And like Ray said, hey, I cried. I mean, I'd have been the same way. Let the kid be a normal kid. Don't treat him any differently. And even P. Daddy, I don't even know who P. Daddy is, but yeah, whoever. If his son wants to go, if he earns that right to go and play at UCLA or anywhere else, by gosh, let him go be a normal freshman and let him do the normal things that all freshmen do. Don't treat him any differently.
I think that Puff Daddy's kid at UCLA is on the heels of what? Who's the guy from No Limit Records? Oh, and his kid played for USC. Oh, help, my
Master P.
Master P, thank you. All right,
I never heard of him either.
Yeah.
If he hadn't opened for Kenny Chesney, I wouldn't know who he is.
And I can assure you this, Master P is not opening for Kenny Chesney this weekend. And let me ask you about a guy that Ray Armstrong. Ray Armstrong is a guy that we had a chance to watch in high school at Sanford Seminole, a highly touted kid out of that high school, a kid that if you look nationally, like if you look at a Phil Steele's magazine or you look at a Lindy's magazine or anywhere else, he's like a first-team All-ACC guy. There's people mention him. Mel Kiper mentions him as far as drafting potentials, whatnot. But then if you get closer to the bullseye down there in Miami and you go locally, he's a lot less appreciated locally than he is nationally. Who's got it right and who's got it wrong with Ray Armstrong?
Well, I think right now the Miami fans have it right. I think the national guys are kind of taking a surface area approach to it. They're seeing a guy with a cool name, Ray Armstrong, big guy, 5-star recruit, University of Miami, and they just sort of check their boxes and say, yeah, this guy's a stud. Truth is, in my opinion, he's a little bit out of position. He's about 6'4", 215 pounds, runs about a 4'6", and we have him out there playing free safety. I think he's best suited for that weak side linebacker position. You see it in the SEC with Alec Ogletree, also a big-time safety recruit, outgrew the position. Georgia moved him to linebacker, and he's flourished. I really think that's his best position, his ultimate position in the pros if he is to get to that level. But as of now, he hasn't been terribly productive. His speed has hurt him, been in coverage. He's very aggressive, takes some bad angles. His tackling has been sort of hit or miss, and he's missed time last year with Nevin Shapiro's suspension. So he hasn't become that kind of player in Miami. We'll see what he develops into this year. Certainly does have talent, but in my opinion, a bit out of position at safety.
Danny Money, CanesInsight.com. He's a writer, he's an owner, he's a podcast host. I mean, is there anything else you do over there that I've missed?
At the site, I don't do any of the technical stuff. I can't operate the computer. So
you got people over there that do a great job of it. By the way, it's the one website I go to for Miami Hurricane information, and certainly encourage either fans of the University of Miami or heck, if you're not a fan of Miami and you just want to get some inside information, find out what's going on down there in Coral Gables, check it out, CanesInsight.com. Danny, as always, my friend, appreciate your time, appreciate you rescheduling with me, man, and we'll get you back next Thursday.
No problem, guys. Have a good weekend.
Appreciate it. You do the same. Danny Money, CanesInsight.com. Coming up next, we'll talk a little French Open tennis. Theroshan Chetty of Golden Ocala will be my guest. You're listening to The Sports Fix on ESPN Radio. Find us online at ESPNGo1.com.